Well, Netanyahu, meanwhile, has visited Majd al-Shams in the occupied Golan Heights, where that attack took place. He's vowed that his country's response would be severe.
We are embracing the families who are going through this indescribable suffering. These children are our children. They are the children of us all. The state of Israel cannot and will not let it pass. Our response will come, and it will be severe.
But residents there in Majd al-Shams also demonstrated against his visit. You're hearing protesters shouting there, "You're not welcome here," urging Netanyahu to leave the area. And earlier on Sunday too, mourners there protested against the presence of Israeli ministers at a funeral for the people who were killed on Saturday. Mourners from the minority Druze community were seen berating the far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, at the site of the rocket attack and asking him to leave. Smotrich responded to the strike on Majd al-Shams, saying that Lebanon as a whole should pay for the attack. Well, let's bring in Marwan Bishara. He's Al Jazeera senior political analyst. He joins us today on Skype from London. Marwan, the heckling that we've been seeing directed at Netanyahu and his coalition partners has been really remarkable. Can you perhaps break that down for our viewers? How does this particular community feel about Israel and Netanyahu's government?
Well, look, despite some 6 decades of occupation, the majority of the residents of Majd al-Shams refused to accept Israeli citizenship, despite so many attempts at appeasing them and rewarding them for being part and parcel of Israel's game at annexing the Golan Heights. In fact, it was in 1981 when they really, by Israeli parliament, by decree, they annexed the Golan Heights, and they've been trying since. 40 years later, and it's just not helping. These people really feel patriotic Syrians. They have also a very close attachments to Syria, even if it's a lot of it is against Assad. But they feel part and parcel of an Arab world, even though there's a Druze sect mostly, but they feel part and parcel of the Arab world, as well as of Palestine. So the idea that Netanyahu would call the children who died there our children is beyond audacious, is beyond criminal, is beyond, I don't know what to say, because ultimately it's he and his government who hold the ultimate responsibility for the death of these kids, regardless of who shot, where, how. If he only accepted the ceasefire in Gaza, we wouldn't have had the northern front boiling the way it is. We wouldn't have had those children dying. He continues to incite and violate and put more conditions to obstruct a ceasefire, and hence we have more war and more children are dying.
Well, let me ask you about those conditions, Marwan, because there are meant to be these ongoing ceasefire talks in Rome. I mean, some pretty big names are physically there. But we've now had these new hardline terms thrown into the discussion by Netanyahu. I know the Americans keep saying that they're optimistic, but this is a departure from the Biden proposal, which Netanyahu eventually said he supported. So where does this actually now leave the talks?
Look, he absolutely doesn't want a deal, unless he's really shoved into one. I'm not sure exactly what he heard from Biden word for word, but clearly the message from Washington was, you need to finish up. You need to wind it down. You need to sign on to the Israeli, meaning his own, Israel's, America's ceasefire three-phase proposal. But he wouldn't. Instead, he is now preoccupied with trying to incite another war, much wider war with Lebanon.
Marwan, what is Netanyahu's strategic thinking here? We've talked a lot about him wanting to prolong the war in Gaza, but now with uncertainty about who might be in the White House come January, has any of that changed his calculus going forward?
Well, look, let me tell you what's happening is very dangerous. I would say, let's say, 3 factors why he's really trying to prolong and widen the war, and 3 why he might not be able to or want to. Basically, at this point in time, using what happened in the Golan Heights as an excuse, he really wants to expand the war with Lebanon. A government of fanatic and fascists, like the Netanyahu government, lives off violence, fear, and instability. And now that the war is winding down in Gaza, they destroyed much of Hamas, they want to go after Hezbollah. 2, they reckon while the military is mobilized, while the circumstances are there, and they cannot afford after October 7th to have another Hamas, even much more powerful than Hamas, Hezbollah, in the northern border, they're going to have to take care of that threat. They reckon, strategically speaking, this is the opportune time, while the military is mobilized, to take on Hezbollah. 3, they also think this is the right time because 10 months ago, Biden committed America to protecting Israel from any regional repercussion to its war on Gaza. And that's why, if you remember, they sent the 2 aircraft carriers and so forth. But against those 3 factors, there's another 3 factors. 1, Israel cannot really afford another 10 months of war, 20 months of war, or 30 months of war, because Hezbollah is far more powerful than Hamas. After 10 months of war, the devastation we've seen, and Israel couldn't even win against Hamas, would it really want to open another front in the north? And 2, can the Israeli economy withstand another 10, 20, 30 months of war? Already, the Israeli economy has suffered a lot. And last but not least, we're not sure if Biden would still commit to protecting Israel after it violated all the ceasefire conditions that he proposed to.
Well, we'll see how this all plays out in the coming days and weeks. Marwan Bishara, Al Jazeera senior political analyst. As always, thank you, Marwan.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.